You are listening to the Built to Grow podcast.
All right, welcome back to the Built to Grow podcast. I'm your host, Tim Lyons, in a special Zoom Whiskey Wednesday podcast episode, joined as always by my co-host, Randy Angston. What's up, guy?
Hey, dude. Cheers.
Cheers, right? Couple special guests on the show today. We brought in some ex-CrossFit affiliates. We wanted to have a little chat. So joining us today, we have Chuck Gonzalez, formerly of CrossFit Hillsboro. Cheers.
Love
Is that your cheers?
ice beer.
And also joining us all the way from State College, Pennsylvania, Brian St. Andrews, formerly of CrossFit Nittany. How are you, sir?
I'm well, thank you.
Cheers. Cheers to you as well. So, spicy episode. We were just chatting before the show. We want to get a little bit in the weeds a little bit here on the whole de-affiliation, the CrossFit. You guys have heard about this. The CEO, Greg Glassman, has outed himself with some comments he's made, and there's been a mass de-affiliation of CrossFit. And I really wanted to bring you two on to hear it firsthand, like your experience and why you decided to go a different direction. And nothing's off limits here. And I just wanted to let you guys know that no judgment. I don't think anything matters. Anything goes on this show. So let's start with Brian. Give us a little background on you, sir, and how long you've been in the business, how long you've been an affiliate, and let's just go into your background, and then don't go into why, and then we'll go into Chuck, and then we'll go into why, right? So Brian, it's all yours.
All right. My name is Brian St. Andrews, and I've been an affiliate at CrossFit Nittany since March of 2011. So we just passed our 9-year mark, and we're going into our 10th year. And I'd been involved with CrossFit before in Tempe, Arizona. My friend and I had started CrossFit Southwest as the 23rd CrossFit overall.
All right, Zona, right on.
Yeah, so that was back in January of 2005. So I've been involved in CrossFit on and off for about 16 years. And current gym 10 years, affiliate as 9.
Nice. Okay, cool. Chuck, go ahead.
So I got into CrossFit. I opened up CrossFit Hillsboro in 2008. I started CrossFit in 2007, back when I was just a trainer at a gym. I got into it because I watched the guys over at Jim Jones training over there, and I loved those guys. They trained the whole cast to 300, and it was just really different from what I was doing. I was CSCS, ACE, CPT, and just kind of doing the traditional, what was functional training at the time. And then I saw this CrossFit stuff and immediately thought it was the dumbest thing on the planet. And as a CSCS, NSCA coach, that's a whole other story we can get into, NSCA and CrossFit. But I tried it and I got hooked. I think I was the first, I was the westernmost and first affiliate in my county. I think I was 5th in the Portland metro area. And I'm pretty sure there were under 500 affiliates at the time when I signed up. So that was in 2008. And then we walked away last year in 2019.
Wow. Okay. So you guys know a few things about CrossFit.
A few, but not as many as some others that are out there. Yeah, certainly not. I'm not an expert in the areas as Castro and the real close guys are.
Yeah.
To Greg, but yeah.
So
a few things.
So little known about me. I actually went and got my CrossFit coaching certification back in 2011. And I just had it as something that maybe we could use to leverage and just maybe attract some different clientele into the business. Never really decided to be an affiliate. Didn't make sense for me. But I got to know that group. And I mean, there's a lot of great things to say about it. But let's talk about what's happening right now. You have some stats for me, right, Chuck? You went ahead and pulled some numbers. I want to hear this.
So it was pretty interesting. So to give people some background, Greg Glassman, he replied to a tweet. All started with a tweet, right? He replied to a tweet, and his reply on the tweet was Floyd 19.
What was he responding to?
The original response was by a health organization of some sort. I don't remember the name, but it was public health is a race issue.
Public health.
Public health is a race issue. I believe
and
that
he
was it.
and he responded with Floyd-19.
Floyd-19. Of course,
Okay.
of course, he was talking about COVID-19, and I mean, who the hell knows what exactly he meant by that or what his intention was? But it didn't really go over very well.
Right. I caught wind of it just by people reposting that. They were taking screenshots, and I'm like, what is going on here? I don't even know what's going on. It's like on a weekend. It was maybe like a week ago. It's only been a week.
Yeah, it hasn't been very long. So he's not known for being the most compassionate, empathetic person, regardless of what kind of genius that he holds in functional training and the games, but didn't go over very well. And then, there were some sort of things that were released on an apparent Zoom call that he had with about 75 other affiliate owners. And he said, look, we're not mourning George Floyd. He goes, why should we? We're in the business of fitness. We're going to focus on our brand. We don't need to focus on that. That didn't go over very well either, as you can imagine. And then, I kind of the icing on the cake was this gentleman came forward. His name slips my mind right now. Brian, maybe you know his name. But he produced a video, and it just said that there was a lot of sexism at the top of CrossFit, which is really unfortunate because some of the best people are females, and I don't know what type of female leadership that they have, but the females at the games are incredible. And then as this fallback from that, you had some of these top female athletes pulling out of the games saying they will not represent this company. Conversely, immediately after that, I had a female client contact me, a female lead, and said, I'm at a CrossFit gym. I will not give that company anymore, not one red cent. I want to know what you have. And I was like, whoa, it's starting to get real now.
So it got out. People were upset with the comments, and then obviously things snowballed. And, one of the things I saw was his apology that he wrote, and he's like, hey, and it's not word for word, don't quote me, but he really started off well, and then he throws his foot in his mouth right at the end. He says something like, I apologize. I've upset a lot of people, and for that I'm going to step down, and but it still wasn't racist. Like at the end, like that was his footnote, and like, oh, he blows it again. He blows it again.
Yep.
And so okay, so the backlash is happening. How many people, like I guess CrossFit affiliates, and you're two of them, but how many have decided to not be a part of CrossFit and de-affiliate, like cancel their affiliation? What do you know?
So I have just seen, the latest statistics brought up by Morning Wad Chalk. Is that the name of the program? Morning Chalk Up, sorry. And, first it was 100, and then 200, 300, 400, 500, 1,000. We are currently at about 1,500, and that was as of this weekend. So what, you guys, in less than a week? Now, if you think about the total number of CrossFits out there, there's about 15,000 affiliates globally. So in 1 week, we're talking like 10% of their affiliates just dropped off. And most of those affiliates probably have signed up after 2010. So when you're an affiliate and you signed up after, I believe it was 2010, you're now paying $3,000 per year per affiliate. So $3,000, I don't know who's got a calculator, $3,000 times 1,500.
I'll do the math.
4.5 million.
45, yeah.
You did it? You did the math? 4.5 million? Oh, yeah.
4.5 million in a week, just what they're losing in dues. That, and maybe this is a different topic, but their certifications are $1,000 each. So they're not having their certifications. Who knows what's going to happen with all of their certs that they do hold. And I think that we're just going to, over time, we're going to see that number go from 1,500, 2,000, 3,000, 5,000. Who knows how high it's going to go based on leadership decisions that the new CEO is going to make.
Wow. Okay. You got anything to add on that, Brian?
A couple things. I think the organization at the beginning had tweeted about the pandemic, and Glassman's made it pretty clear that he didn't believe any of the statistics, and he thought that organization was like culpable to contributing to like false statistics regarding the pandemic and the shutdown. So that's what he was saying. He was replying to and insinuating that the race is a public health issue, and that he didn't believe the statistics to begin with. So I've heard that side of it. Almost everybody has come to Glassman's defense, saying that just from his actions and being around him, that he's really not racist. I don't know if that's necessarily true or not, right? I think old guys should stay off Twitter, is what I think.
It's really tough because you can't win in the situation, and that therefore, no matter what you say, unless you are completely for the movement and completely for everything that's going on, the stats that are out there, the George Floyd thing, it doesn't matter what you think. If you go against it, you're wrong, regardless of what you think. You have no choice in the matter. I mean, that's just my standpoint. You can't go the opposite way. You're going to get blasted, and that's what's happened to him. Yes. What he said? I don't think it's racist. What he said, Floyd 19. Is that in itself racist? Again, even in response to the talk, what's racist?
I didn't feel that it was racist when I first talked to him. I didn't feel like it was racist at all. Even when he said that CrossFit HQ was not going to mourn George Floyd, I didn't think that was racist. Probably not the smartest thing to say, but based on what he's done for lower socioeconomic neighborhoods in America, based on what he has done for those and trying to bring CrossFit into those neighborhoods, I personally don't feel that Greg Glassman was being racist. Very poor choice of words, like really stupid, really dumb. Stay off of Twitter. Yeah.
It's interesting because, and Randy and I have these conversations all the time. It's like, if you don't go with the narrative that's out there, you're wrong. And you can't think. Here's a great example. Coach Mike Dundee. What's his name? Coach for Oklahoma State.
Gundy.
Right. Gundy was wearing a conservative news station T-shirt when on a fishing trip over the weekend. And apparently he had to come out today and apologize for wearing a conservative news station T-shirt because something on one of the they weren't agreeing with the Black Lives Matter movement on that news station. And so the players on the team and the parents were all in uproar, and they're going to boycott the season because he's wearing a T-shirt that has a news station that's a conservative news station, and that it goes against the narrative. So he had to come out and apologize. You're not even allowed to wear a T-shirt anymore that says a news station. It's
of a media outlet. Yeah, of a media outlet. I mean, some of this goes back to from even what Glassman said, right? It's the words used and the intent behind it. And the problem is he wasn't clear enough in what he said to make a point of what he meant, right, wrong, or indifferent. So it left 100% the perception to each one of us. And if you aren't, if you can't articulate your point, maybe you got to choose a different, some different words.
I've never met Glassman. Brian, I don't know if you've ever met him. But to his credit, he really created. I
do that.
He created a movement that you rarely ever see. I mean, Glassman created something very big, and I don't know if you have seen Greg Glassman, but sometimes he doesn't appear as if he's the CEO of the largest health and fitness affiliate in the world, with 15,000. He doesn't really present that type of persona, and he doesn't really care about what people perceive his words to be. So he doesn't have a filter, and he really gets away with not necessarily gets away, but he's not necessarily held accountable to his words until you have something like this that comes up, until a lot of people band together and say, hey, we're not standing for this. And the George Floyd that's just one half of it. The other half is really coming from the accusations made about just how sexist the leadership in the company is and how tolerant they are of these accusations that Greg Glassman is just not fair to women in the organization. Mm-hmm. And if you haven't seen that video, I encourage you to go watch the video that's floating around there about what one of the former employees of CrossFit HQ is saying. And trying to be objective about it, it wouldn't necessarily surprise me. And I don't know how much truth that there is to it, but regardless, you have this image now of this movement that's been around for almost 20 years now. And you're starting to see a lot of boxes walk away. Now, I walked away last year. And the reason that I walked away is because it wasn't because of one thing that Greg Glassman said. And it's probably that same thing is holding true today. It's not necessarily because of this George Floyd incident, plus the sexism incidents, but it's just really death by 1,000 little cuts that they did. I think it was in 2012 or 13, they sent us out this poster. Like CrossFit used to host these big fitness competitions, right? And I think it was maybe the month of November, and they were having some fitness competition, and the benefit was for children in some area across the world.
St.
It was children
Hospital.
suffering from leukemia.
St.
That's what it
St.
was.
Jude's Hospital.
You remember this, Brian? And they sent every
You're talking
affiliate.
about the terrible poster that came out?
Yeah. Oh, you remember that? Did they send you one?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
So talk about
Yeah,
what's
there's a
go ahead.
poster that had like kids with X's on their eyes in wagons being pulled out of like a cartoon hospital. Like, it was just so tasteless.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like half-dead kids with an IV hooked up to their arm.
Yeah.
Taken out of their bed.
Let's find that poster.
So-
I want to see that thing. That's crazy.
I'll see if I can find it around here.
I threw that,
Jumped in a
burned
corner.
that thing. I
You
crumpled
burnt
it up and threw it away.
So tasteless stuff, and
Yeah.
that just that's one of, I guess, a bunch of things. Brian, what you decided to leave because of this situation? Like exactly.
I'm leaving more recently. Yeah. Let me. I've got a few things to say here. So I would say, backing up to a couple points here. One, Glassman's tweet to what we were talking about just before this that Chuck brought up. It's like everybody had been talking about the race topic, right? And he's still hammering Coke, or hammering these organizations and hammering CSCS, right? And it's really to that point, it was like, it's not, the word tone deaf keeps getting thrown around a lot right now as a good description to it. I don't know if that's exactly the right thing, but it's like, hey, your topic is not on the table right now, Greg. We're all talking about this over here. Why don't you tone it down with that for a second? We don't want to hear you. And to that point, that Andy Stumpf is the guy's name who used to work at headquarters that has the podcast that he used to be on the seminar staff, and he's a pilot. He was Greg's pilot after he had gotten out of the military as a pilot for a long time and been on the inner workings of everything. And to the point that Greg has, they're filled with a lot of yes men, right? Inside of there has become very apparent. On the sexism side, there's a lot of men who are afraid to stand up to them. Andy on that podcast had said a lot of that is because they were compensated ahead of like what that job requires, right? So if it's a job that say is $80,000 or something, these people are probably making like 120, where they can't just replace that income in the market, right?
Okay.
Like
So they're afraid to lose their jobs. The same.
Yeah, they can't. Yeah, like where else am I just going to teach on the weekends? Have this sweet get, right? So they have all these people that are just condoning these actions, and like that's even played up to today with the Twitter situation, right? Like, I mean, his lawyer Dale Sarin did a big piece just defending his actions, and to some of what you were saying, and then like the Mike Gundy guy for Oklahoma State, right? Like, I don't think it's necessarily like just that he's wearing a conservative news t-shirt, right? It's like the complicating factors are Gundy has a track record of saying some things that like maybe he does have a more conservative belief system, but like it's just people who are being unaware of the situation that they're in, and that like Mike Gundy like Oklahoma State's a very white state, and he's representing the football team that's probably 75% black kids, right?
Right.
And that like the reason that shirt got a lot of attention, it's like you have to dig into these details a little bit, right? It's like, it's not just that it's a t-shirt, it's that it's a t-shirt that, and regardless of your beliefs, right, but that Donald Trump has turned to that news organization to send these messages out that he's sending out that like the other people won't carry now, right? So like if Gundy's going to wear that shirt and then show up 2 days later, and like that's really where the issue is. It's like, why don't you have to represent these young African American men that are all 18 to 24 as well, right? And if they're all standing up, like, so that was some of the thing. It's like Greg has his beliefs in headquarters and he's entitled to them and can believe, right? But he can't paint me into a corner as to like, he's going to get up here and grandstand and then slap that on my name by a CrossFit, right? Like,
and that's
what Chuck was saying.
And that's really why everybody's leaving, is because
the
CrossFit name is being portrayed as this, and if you don't stand for that, now you're attached to it. And
well, yeah, and
you don't have any
to
control.
the death by 1,000 cuts, it's like, I feel, to use another example, and this is just off of social media and like just because I'm kind of friendly, but like CJ and Invictus, who like some of these people have big decisions to make, like Khalipa, Froning, right? Like those are bigger brands for one, and just like Chuck, after you've been there like 10 years, you might not need the CrossFit name as much anymore, right? Like it's only $2,000, or depending on when you signed up, right? 2,000 to 3,000. Some people are probably just hanging on to it, almost like nostalgically, like, oh, I really loved when it was like this. It's going to get me some Google searches. It's really who we were and how we came up, but those are like mature brands now, right? And to mine, like I'm not a massive affiliate, but we have, we've had 300 members at one point, and we're in the couple hundred members, right? In the 200 range. So it's one of those where like, I don't know where the line was, but that's so far past the line as to what I'm believing in, right? That I'm not going to stand for that. That's what I know, right? And
yeah, that's where I think that's where a lot of affiliate owners are right now, is that, first of all, they're not going to stand for it, and they were probably on the fence about making a decision to stay an affiliate either. And you have a CrossFit on every corner right now.
Yeah.
Or let's say you had a CrossFit on every corner before COVID hit, right? And just like in 2008 when Starbucks closed, like 3,000 locations in America, just because there was just oversaturation of the market.
It was a recession.
Yeah.
Recession. Their stock price got down to $12, and I was going to buy it, but I didn't have any money, and I wish I did.
I decided to open up a gym in 2008.
Yeah, so did I.
And I thought that was a great idea.
Well,
so now you're at
that point. Yeah, to speak to that point though, like when we had Rick on the episode a few podcasts, or I don't remember which version he was on that we talked about it, but we had talked about CrossFit as a brand for the first time. I think it was last year, had more affiliates leave the brand than actually open up new affiliates.
Right.
So like, speaking to that point, do you think that a lot of the, let's say the 1,500 that have already made that decision, Chuck, are you saying that they probably had one foot out the door already, and this was kind of like the last straw?
Yeah, they're probably some of the newer affiliates, and the newer affiliates, in all honesty, a lot of these guys are just doing it as a hobby. It's not necessarily a career. And when this hobby is costing you $3,000 a month in affiliate fees and $3,000 a month in rent a year, $3,000 a year in affiliate, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a month in rent. You typically are not paying coaches in a CrossFit place. You're just kind of trading them for memberships in like a traditional and a CrossFit place. So it's not really the best scalable business model for these guys to stay in business. And, after a few years of paying about $3,000, they're kind of like, do I really need to do this? Can I do this on my own because I have enough Google searches? I pop up. I'm kind of good at Facebook. And so that's kind of where I think a lot of people are just globally. In America, just like Rick was saying, there's more affiliates that have closed down than there are that opened up. You know, for me, I chose to leave because there are 15 gyms just around my area. CrossFit's, big boxes, LA 24, and it was just time for me to get out. I don't know who that was.
Oh, what? I think it was you, Tim.
It blew my eardrums out. Wow, it was like a fax machine. What is that?
I don't know what that was.
I make a note on that, Randy, if you would, for the guys that cut.
Oh, that was my cue to take a drink.
All right, Sipperoo.
So
let me-
was it a waterfall?
Let me ask you guys this: what is CrossFit doing for the affiliate, like from a business standpoint, or is it just the name?
Well, they had started to do less was part of it, right? And so to what I was saying earlier about the nostalgia, it seemed like, you know, let's say it's 2014, 2015, right? Things were really like ramping up, and there's the games getting a lot of notoriety, movies going out on Netflix, and the social media was very like productive. And it may have been expensive for them, but they started as like a media production crew, right? With like, that's what Facebook was, just content production. And then, excuse me, they dropped social media. They're starting to defund the games. They changed the games so that the qualification processes were different. They took away regionals, which was upsetting to a lot of people. And they sanctioned independent activities to like draw people in and then have national qualifiers winning. And so it was just going a lot of different directions. And a lot of affiliates felt like, and they don't have any input, right? It's just being dictated to you. And so to that point, then it's like all these changes had been made up along the way. And I don't think it was just the newer people, but you know, it's probably just my bias in that I am like more experienced CrossFit. So the people I know are more experienced CrossFit owners, right? But that I think it was more of like the affiliates who have been through all that now for 10 years. And where, you know, once you get people who are now afraid of the term CrossFit, and you don't know where the split is as to like, is the Google search beneficial enough? Or is it just scary enough that people won't even look up that term? And like, where do we fall along the like, maybe before it was like 2/3 the search and 1/3 scary. And now it's like 50-50 or 60-40. And like, I don't know how scary this is to people. And I don't need racism attached to it. And I don't need like, right? Like
It seems like a pretty easy decision for somebody that was on the fence. Like that's the last straw. It gave him an excuse to leave.
Yeah, exactly.
Wasn't doing anything for him. Yes, does CrossFit have a good name in the market or a bad? That you know, that's, you don't know, right?
Yeah.
And so what I would challenge is these gym owners like yourselves, both of you, is like, why don't you take this time to create your own thing, something you have control over? Because again, here it is, a great case in point. You don't have any control over what these guys are saying, affecting your bottom line. They are affecting your bottom line in a negative way. I mean, I guess.
So to Greg Glassman sort of has the same outlook. He's a self-described diehard libertarian. And you know, he never really wanted to get into the business of operations or franchising. And he's like, look, if you want to use my name, yeah, sure, pay me a fee, nominal fee at that. The affiliates before me were paying $500.
Yeah.
He's like, look, I'll put you on, and I was paying $1,000. And he's like, look, I'll put you on the CrossFit homepage. So if somebody goes there and they want to search for an affiliate, I'll put you on that. But otherwise, I'm not gonna hold you by any restriction. I'm not going to give you an operation. I'm not going to give you a franchise plan. You know, you have the freedom to do this on your own and make your box reflect your own culture. Build your box however you want to. Teach your deadlift however you want to. Coach your snatch and clean and jerk. Do whatever you want. It's all up to you. So in his mind, he gave all of these affiliate owners the freedom, you know, quote unquote, to run their business however they wanted, while still under the entire umbrella of, you know, whatever CrossFit says, you know. And to Brian's point, the main reason that I walked away from CrossFit, Brian, is because, yeah, there's a shitload more people who are scared of it than actually want to do it these days. And
Yeah, I think so too.
yeah, and that's exactly why I was not getting the leads that I used to. And most people that I would talk to that I told I operated a CrossFit gym to, they're like, I could never do that.
Yeah.
I could never do CrossFit. That's way too hard. No way.
Well, it went past the curve of like cool, like early adopters, cool, all that, right? Now it's just mainstream, and it like to what you said, Chuck. It's like the term has just become, oh, like that's too intense for me,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah, rope climb, snatches, the sport of fitness, the CrossFit Games, the Fittest on Earth DVDs. You know, that's kind of what the CrossFit brand represents. And Tim, I don't know how many of those people you got in your box, in your gym.
Very few. Yeah, very few.
Women ripped and shredded, and guys that can run, you know, a sub 6 minute mile. Yeah, we don't really have any of those things. So you have a separate CrossFit sport of fitness demographic who, quite frankly, really, you know, can't afford the rates that we need to charge to stay in business.
Right.
That's a whole other story. And then, you know, you got CrossFit went through this change. Tim, I don't know if you've actually went to the CrossFit website recently in the last few months and looked at their WOD of the day and looked at Archie Bunker and his wife Edith on their 1970s couches doing squats. Oh, it's fabulous. You should see it.
Oh, wow.
Great.
Okay. I haven't seen
So
it.
now here's what Glassman wanted to do. He's like, look, we need to help the people who need our help the most. We don't need to help Jason Khalipa and Rich Froning. They're on their own. They can do it. But the people who need our help the most are, you know, the late generation baby boomers, and, you know, maybe some of those people in their 70s and their 80s, the guys that really need to just move and don't know exactly what to do. So he started trying to market to those people and setting up just really simple exercises on their floral pattern couches, teaching people how to squat and how to pick up water jugs. So he went from one extreme just way to the other and tried to encapsulate it in one freaking brand. So he's trying to capture everybody from 18 years old all the way up to 90 years old.
Yeah, well, I didn't know that. I didn't know. I guess out of necessity, you got to do some of these things, but just he's kind of slapped it together. Doesn't make any sense.
That's what I'm getting to as well. Do you guys think that, like, throughout your time as an affiliate, the changes that took place were never like strategic or thought out? It was essentially like you're paying money to do it under a brand, and they're using that money to test different theories on what might work at your guys' expense? Because like the game thing to me is like, you know, that's a small market, like you were speaking to, right? Like if somebody's training for the games, that's an athlete. Mm-hmm. That is the top percentage.
1%.
Yeah.
Exactly, right? Like that's not a brand that every one of your facilities could put on their building and then make an income with. So
no, to what that does though is that's an event, and there are other, like maybe other examples of that would be like the Olympics or like Ironman in Hawaii, right? That gets on TV, where USA Triathlon doesn't exist without that, right? Like it's just the idea that like it's a big show and it's the big show that everybody watches, right? So like I don't think that necessarily aspiring to get there is really a thing, right? It's more that like you took away the Super Bowl and now you've got people on couches, right?
Yeah,
like,
interesting.
And the, you know what, elite fitness, forging elite fitness is the tagline, right? Mm-hmm. So and to what also, like, to tie it back to the original conversation, the brand was built on the back of law enforcement and military, right? Like that, those were the first adopters for Greg, like in like contracts that he had and how it really grew, right? Like when you say CrossFit, people think Navy SEAL training. That, like, that's what they say and equate it to, right? So
well, here's my question then. So if you're going to become an affiliate and then you're going to say things like, you know, like Chuck stated, where you can run any type of training, you could run anything, and you're literally just paying for that name. How did it grow? How did it make fitness cool for the general population if all CrossFit ever brought to the table was the elite fitness factor? You know what I mean? Like where was it?
Yeah. So they started making it a competition. You know, and they started making it a competition. They made the sport of fitness. And in the sport of fitness, you know, Greg Glassman, he was, to his credit, he was the first one to come up with the idea of making people, compete in fitness. When they had the first games in where was it, in Aromas, California, just like on a farm somewhere. And then it just took off. They're like, you know what? Let's see how many push-ups, pull-ups, sit-ups, and 400-meter sprints we can do inside of 20, 30 minutes. And you just have that people that feed off of that competitive nature. I mean, think about My Zone. Like Tim, we run My Zones. Plenty of people that run that are listening to this run the My Zone challenges, and they just like to be challenged and they like to be pushed. And nobody had ever done that before.
Right.
So when you take this kind of elite athlete, Navy SEAL, military style training, and then you just simply apply that. It's the same thing that you apply it to your stay-at-home moms and desk jockeys. It produces just that same type of competitive drive. And that's why it just took off. And that's where the movement took off.
I would say he also, I would say the more important contribution would be that he opened up the business aspect of it. Beyond personal training studios in the 90s. Like, I'm 42, right? And so like that was like the T-Nation age, and like people had personal training studios, but there were literally zero cohesive brands of what would now be boutique studio, right? So like Orange Theory and F45 aren't here if CrossFit doesn't exist, right? Like CrossFit paved the way for those brands.
100%.
And those are just refined versions of what CrossFit started.
Absolutely.
So I would say like the brand really was built on like the style of training was built on the military, and to what Chuck was just saying, right? And like really having that kind of expand. But I would say the business side of things with the low barrier to entry and making the garage gym acceptable, it made it available for people to get 100 people, right? Just like get 100 people together and you could have a little business, and like whether it's a hobby or whether it's a real business. And those of you that choose to, now there's a more realistic chance that you can make 70, 100, like whatever, right? Like you can make a professional wage as a trainer, and that grew like as like you have to look in context, right? Like that's when social media came around, and it was like, this is how you do it. You tell the story of your box, like we tell this story, and that'll help you grow, right? And like, so I would say that's the bigger contribution that really they started, but then was built on the back of the affiliates, right? And so like the brand grew on the back of like everybody just building these little gyms everywhere. And that's where it's like, hey man, we want a little bit of a say here. Like you represent all of us now. This has gotten pretty big, to a lot of what's been suggested. Maybe there should be a board of directors. Like maybe there should be,
well, they got a lot of issues to go through. They got the changing of the guard now. Glassman stepped down. This other guy's in, Castro. So what do you tell these guys? Well, you're one of them. Like, what do you tell the de-affiliated CrossFits now? What, like their whole lives have been CrossFit. Now they're on their own. Like Chuck, what would you tell these guys? What's
the next CrossFit, right? Like, what do you do? What's the next one?
Well, do they need to do another one?
Yeah, do you need that? You need to run under somebody else's brand.
Or is it time to do your own thing? And like what, like you've done it, you're both doing it right now. What are you guys doing now?
So I rebranded. It's pretty easy because when you're CrossFit Hillsboro, the easiest thing to do is just rebrand it Hillsboro Fitness, right? Like you can't get too complex with it.
Nittany Fitness, got it.
Yeah, CrossFit Nittany Fitness, right? And that's what most
of the CrossFit with the CF go to Community Fitness.
Oh, is that what they're doing?
Hillsboro, right?
Yeah.
So they're still CFH, right? Like, so I've seen that across the board.
There's probably not going to be a lot of methodology change. That's the thing. So the methodology is probably going to stay the same, but these guys just aren't going to, they're not going to pay their affiliate fee. They're not going to be quote unquote associated with CrossFit anymore, meaning they're not going to get their Christmas card every year. You asked what they did for us, Tim. Well, we got a Christmas card every year.
Wow.
But that's the question. So leaving like to everything we've talked about, right? So it was providing you with Google searches. Then it wasn't.
Christmas card.
Christmas card. But at this point, as a business owner, what has CrossFit been providing or has provided that you feel going out on your own or doing it on your own isn't going to be there? Is there anything left from what the affiliates were still receiving?
Besides the name, no, there's nothing besides the name.
You know what I would say is someone who's recently done it, Randy, that's like going through it right now.
Yeah.
Is you start to feel less beholden to having to do like jerks, kipping, pull-ups, right? Like things that you generally know shouldn't really be in the group fitness class for the non-elite, right? Like,
Sure.
So I think what you gain or whether you lose it or whatnot is you have the ability now to slow people down a lot better, especially coming off of this, given the situation, right? Like nobody's been in a gym for 12 weeks, right? Like you can be like, listen, stop all this. Stop.
It doesn't exist anymore. We were wrong. A kip never happened.
Well, just like we've said in many podcasts before, this is a perfect storm to make all the changes you want. And so I would challenge those CrossFit owners that are de-affiliating, spend the time now to create what you are proud of. You could take the power back now. You're not, like you said, beholden to CrossFit. You can do your own thing. You can do what Brian and Chuck are doing and create something you are proud of. And that's what we coach on a daily basis with gym owners, is like creating their own thing. And like your proprietary blend, because of the nature of the way CrossFit used to be. It was CrossFit on this corner, CrossFit on this corner. Yeah. They do CrossFit, we do CrossFit. They're $199, we're $169. They're going to come here. And it was a price battle, and there was no difference to the solution that you're both providing, because CrossFit is the overarching thing. Now you've got so much more power. You can create the brand, the proprietary blend of your workouts that you decide you want to do, and nobody can compete with you because you can't get the secret sauce across the street anymore. It's now your secret sauce. So I think it's a good thing.
The people who have been calling me, they ask the same question, all the new leads that I get. They say, if you're not CrossFit, what kind of exercises do you do? Like, as if there's no other exercise.
There's no other exercise that exists.
Like, you don't do CrossFit? Well, what do you do then? Explain it to me, And so we transitioned to a lot of small group, semi-private training. That's it. We charge more now than we did before. And it's so funny because we're just going back to exactly how we did things before we were an affiliate, exactly how we did things. I mean, God, I can't believe I freaking was an affiliate for 12 years. If I just would have kept doing exactly what I'm doing now. I need another drink, damn it. So we're doing things the way that we were when we were semi-private training and personal training. And, since we stepped away from CrossFit and after COVID, I came up with something called socially distanced personal training, which is, is it working? Yeah, sure. Is it compelling? Yes. Do we do kipping butterflies? No. Do we do deadlift snatches? No, absolutely not. We don't do that stuff anymore, Brian. And it's so much easier to coach. And there's just a whole arsenal of stuff that coaches just have the ability to choose from. Years ago, we purchased Alloy programming. Tim, you have the same thing, right? Alloy.
We don't. Yeah, I know we don't use them, but yes, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so we purchased Alloy programming, so we use some of that. We use our functional training stuff, but we just moved away from that methodology, and now we just have to, have the confidence in ourselves and our team and our coaches, which we provide through a business systems that CrossFit doesn't provide you with. And we're like, look, guys, this is how we do things from point A to point Z. This is exactly how we run the show. And so for anybody who's listening, who might be going through de-affiliation, you guys can do it. Brian, you've been in the game long enough. You've been doing it a long time. And, I know that it's really scary. And it was scary for me when I chose to de-affiliate, because I'm like, what in the hell am I going to do without an affiliation? Am I going to be able to exist without CrossFit? And I know that there's a lot of people that are like that, right now. And it just takes that initial jump and maybe some great guys behind your back, like Tim and Randy, like you guys have been with me for years, just pushing and pushing. But there's light at the end of that freaking tunnel.
Nice. Just do it. And you set up with us, you set up a Facebook group, like a support group for former affiliate box owners. So on Facebook, create a little support group, because guys, you need it more than ever right now, especially like what
That's
you said.
exactly.
Yeah,
That's the big thing that I've taken away is like all these affiliates are now, I mean, de-affiliating.
Mhm.
You guys are going to be looking for a home. You know, we talk all the time about like being an entrepreneur, running a gym and having systems and things like that. Like you share it amongst the people that you're close with. You know, I'm sure even just being part of the CrossFit community, the people you naturally communicated with all the time were other affiliate donors. And you guys
Yeah, and
shared
unfortunately, those conversations really revolved, at least on social media, those conversations between the affiliate owners, they just revolved around workouts.
Did they? Not business stuff, Brian? No
It's
business.
not, yeah.
Surface
Yeah,
level,
not
surface
so
level.
much. Not so much. I mean, it's matured now, and I think the flip side of what I said, and that it had helped all this business grow, right, is that it is also the easy way and the fast way, right, to open a gym and like, boom, people are going to show up.
$1,000 credit card in a weekend.
Yeah, and now it's like, it's back to, and I think this is kind of happening universally. At least it seems like it's been my experience over this first 6 months of this year, right? Is that people are just getting back to like saving money, grow your gym slow, do the right things, be patient, like in life, focus on health, right? Like that's those, you see these more fundamental, like principled themes coming up more. And like, it's just not going to be low hanging fruit, like going into a recession where you just slap a CrossFit on your door and all of a sudden you have 100 people, right? Like
Those days are long gone. They're
Yeah.
long gone. People are holding their cash. So
like long gone, like the $2 leads on Facebook.
2015.
Well, I mean, we were
those
talking
lead
with
prices are back for the record.
Those what? Those what are back?
Those lead
lead
prices.
are back.
Oh
They're
yeah.
close. What are you guys seeing? Because we had this conversation with our Iron Circle yesterday, and we were still shocked at some of the things like the low cost others are picking people up at.
I was
What do you
getting
guys
$4 or $5 a lead when COVID first started.
Yeah.
4 or $5 a lead.
I was lower than that in my area, which is normally a $30 lead. We were at like $3.
Wow.
Yesterday we had we call guys were doing $3.14 leads for a program that they were running. So yeah, the cost per lead's going down, and that's just because the competition's pulled out their budgets and pulled it out of the market. It's just
Exactly. Yeah.
basically an auction platform. So yeah, lots of turmoil. What do you think is going to happen with the brand? Are they going to recover? Is it going to be just, a little like blip on the radar, or are they going to be totally collapsed? No?
It's still going to be the biggest brand in fitness.
Okay.
14,000 affiliates is 13,500 affiliates is still, massive.
So you got Dave Castro, who is CEO now, and Dave Castro has been Greg Glassman's right-hand man. And Dave Castro is a great guy. He was at my level 1 seminar here in Portland in 2008. And the guy was just a freaking rock star. All those guys were rock stars at my level 1s. But, he comes from that culture. He comes from being there that whole time. And he's going to have to make some huge, significant changes to that brand, maybe even a rebrand, or opening up a different brand. I don't know how this culture, how the CrossFit culture is going to survive in this day and age with the amount of turmoil that we have going on in the world. I don't know if it's really going to be feasible. And granted that America is a very forgiving demographic. It's a very forgiving market. Like in America, you give it enough time, the population generally will forgive you and allow you to come back. Now that has been true for about the last 30 years, but today, I don't know if that's true or not. So when you have a company that's that big, $1 billion brand operating throughout the globe, I think that Dave Castro definitely has his work cut out for him. And if it's going to survive, he has to make some huge, massive, empathetic, compassionate.
Drastic.
I think you could probably put like an 80-20 rule on it. I think about 20% of the affiliates is what's going to fall off, right? And that still leaves it in $1 billion brand, like Chuck was just saying, right? And what what I think needs to happen is they just need to get more sophisticated, right? It's been this really simple one-man show that's run up to a massive amount of money, right? And like with that comes pretty good responsibility. Like even in an affiliate model, you're speaking for a lot of people, right? Mm-hmm. So I think they just need to CrossFit they need to grow that up a little bit, right? It just needs some more.
That one man show still owns 100% of the company.
Yeah, exactly, right. And that's why so who knows? Like do I think Greg will ultimately divest his interest? I don't know.
Yeah, who knows?
I don't think it gives him the platform to fight the fights he wants if he doesn't still have the CrossFit brand, right? Like he still wants to fight Coca-Cola and sugar, and he's been anti-licensing the health profession so that different groups don't control it with lobbying interests. Like he's done a good job in that area, and I don't know if he gets to fight those fights. And
I think personally in America, I don't know what's going on throughout the globe, but I think personally in America for the fitness industry, the industrial chic revolution is over. And by industrial chic, I mean, business parks like mine, seriously, where you're in a business park, you have a couple of garage doors, and you got kind of a CrossFit looking place. And unfortunately, that's what I have. And I think that's over. I think it's dead and I think it's gone. Where do I think that it's going? I'll tell you exactly where it's going. It's going towards more places like Frank Nash's Stronger Personal Training. I mean, you got the neon lights, right? And you have the culture, and you have the team training, and you have the fun, and you have the social media experience. You have that professionalism brand. You got that for team training, and then you have a separate program like just like at Pulse Fitness with Tim. You have semi-private training in these smaller training studios that you can do inside of 4,000 square feet. Just have a rock star time. I think we're seeing the end of the industrial fitness revolution. It's going to go more towards the digital, lightning age of fitness.
He coined it. I was waiting for the term lightning age. So digital lightning age experience. Don't call it boutique because that's almost like the opposite of what this is. This is more like cutting edge, urban, modern, high end, and then higher pricing. And you can make a lot of money in a small footprint. I mean, there's guys we interviewed on this. What's that?
It's Soul Cycle.
Soul Cycle, smaller footprint, high price points.
Yeah.
And people are willing to pay for that. And if they're getting the high touch point, high experience, that's really what they're buying. They're buying the experience, the mental health, right? They're just going for the experience. What's that? Client experience. Yeah, we preach on it all the time.
I think
and it's niching down.
It is niching down. It's a higher barrier of entry. There's going to be, a build out for a 5,000 square foot place might be 70, 80, 90, $100 a foot. It might be $500,000 to build out depending on who you're using for your design, could be that expensive. I mean, Evan Howard in the Iron Circle, have you seen his place in Pennsylvania? He's in, where's he at? He's in Allentown. Is that near you?
Allentown, I think, yeah.
3 hours.
3 hours? My man did a full remodel. I mean, he's got like glass looking floors with like that design, almost like it looks like you're in water. He's got lights that are in sync with the my zone that they should be in. So if you're in the yellow zone, the whole place is yellow. You got black turf. The music's coordinated, and he's doing team training with 8 to 20 people spread out, right? 6 feet distance. And they're doing high intensity interval training, and they're high-fiving each other. They're just having a blast, and it's the experience, and they're just on a high walking out. And he's charging $300, $400, $500 a month, but he can get away with that doing 200 or 300 people doing $300 a month. That's $1 million business, even more. So I like that model. It is going to cut out the hobbyist, like the CrossFit hobbyists that were just getting in for $1,000 on a weekend and 6 months abated rent in a warehouse, right? To get them going. It is what it is, but and we're doing our own changes here. We're looking at new spaces and building buildings and stuff like that. So it is going to be interesting to see. And for those, and this is a perfect time for those guys de-affiliating. Maybe you only have a year left on your lease and your term. Maybe you relocate and do something different. Bring your clients with you. They'll follow you because they like you. But maybe you take this opportunity to go open up a new spot, rebrand. Opportunities are endless right now, guys. So any parting words for anything? Randy, you got something to say?
You know what I see? I see something that's kind of a cool trend from a lot of the guests that we've had on lately. And I think it's a direction that we can kind of see where some of all of fitness is going. From the first conversation we had with Rick about his new direction in the model, from your mention of Frank and where Chuck, where you believe the direction of the boutique, well, not the boutique gym, but like the end of the industrial gym is going.
Digital lightning age.
Digital lightning age, from where Evan and Frank and a lot of our friends in the industry have positioned their gyms, where Matt Weaver in the direction of his brand, Casey and Jerry from their brand. Everybody is so heavily now focused around the client experience as a whole. It's not just about the programming. It's not about the client result. It's about every bit of all of that, right? The emotion that they leave with, the color, the experience, the music, all of this has become so crucial to earn that business that I think now that is the limelight. That is the direction that if you're not playing into controlling every controllable in that 1 hour for that client, you're going to miss the boat. And it just kind of dawned on me, everybody that we've had on is talking about doing the same things.
Everybody rewind this like 30 seconds and just listen to what Randy said over and over and over again.
The pressure's on.
Yeah, that was the best business advice in our industry, Randy. Really, that was.
Yeah, beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
It just dawned on me. It literally clicks because, I mean, the lighting is one thing. The music is another. Programming, we all want to deliver a result. That's the reason that we get into this business. But how you do that is seeming to be more impactful than just the actual program of itself.
And trainer brains are not going to compute that very well because it's all about the programming, the lift, the mechanics, the dorsiflexion of the ankle. It's like that's what they're focused on, but it's like the opposite of that. Unfortunately, you have to maybe get some business books.
Have your director of programming write a chapter on that in his book. What's his name, Tim?
Yeah.
Zach.
Yeah. Have Zach write a chapter on that.
Zach is coming out with a book, and I've read the first quarter of it. It's funny. It's good. You'll love it. I mean, I don't know, Brian. How do you run your operation? You're the owner, but are you in the day-to-day, or are you just overseeing the business?
I'm involved in day-to-day, like in and out. I don't like coach any classes,
okay.
But I'm generally here most days for a period of time, and I run the meetings, and
yeah,
I'm still involved.
You need a Zach to do that for you, because I've got Zach, and he's writing a book it's called Directing Fitness, and it's about his position in the organization and how you could take that book, read it, and find the guy, and you two try. Then you guys can remove yourself. I don't know. I mean, some people want to be in the day-to-day.
Nope.
Nope.
Not in.
No. All right, I'll kick him in the butt and tell him to get that thing done, because
give me a signed copy, please.
Yeah, I'll send it out to all you guys. You'll love it. I mean, he's such a good dude. So, well, awesome, guys. I'm so glad I had you guys on, because this is a hot topic right now, and you guys gave us some insight. Again, we're not in that world, but a lot of the listeners are. You gave us your insight why you're both leaving. You both wanted to, you don't want to be a part of that. And now is a great time. So anybody that is de-affiliating, if you want to join the group, what's the name of the group? It's a former affiliate box owner.
Former affiliate box owners on Facebook. Yeah.
Jump into that group, have a conversation. Nothing to sell in there. Just a gathering place to decompress and figure out the next move, because you guys are on an island sometimes as entrepreneurs, and being a part of a group of like CrossFit, you were kind of part of a pack. Now you're basically floating.
It was actually called a cult, Tim.
Cult. Yeah, it absolutely is a cult.
Just become a digital marketer. It's the same thing.
Cult. Being a cult, having a cult is good for business. I would tell you that. It's pretty awesome. You got some raving fans. So, gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. Cheers on a Whiskey Wednesday podcast. Until next time, guys, keep changing lives. We'll see you on the next show.